This man had just completed a successful assassination mission.
You know who I am?
Before leaving, he did not forget to take a souvenir photo. This assassin's name is Mike. He is known as the accident assassin because the cases he carried out were all staged to look like an accident. After each successful murder, Mike often felt extremely excited. He always went to a bar with bad people to relieve the excess adrenaline.
I hope you're not here.
Right, so Spencer's 50 sheets. Good lad.
He often chose to pick fights with thugs who were harassing women.
Oi, fat boy!
Lock him out, Bazza!
No technique.
For Mike, bullies, men or women, deserve to be punished. Mike still threw money to the bar owner to call an ambulance. He knew that emergency medical costs in England were not cheap at all. After venting his anger, Mike felt refreshed and drove to a door hidden in the corner of the street. That was the entrance to the Oasis bar, which was also the camouflage for the underground assassins' headquarters. At night, this place was a bar, and during the day, it was a meeting place for assassins. Oasis was crowded with professional killers, each with their own style. The big bearded man was Cliff, a Russian assassin who specialized in using an axe to kill his targets. Cliff was crazy when he killed anyone, but he was very friendly with Mike. Pete was a quiet guy, but who would have thought he was a poison expert? Pete liked to secretly poison his targets so that when they died, they didn't know who killed them. Finally, there was Mick and Mac. They were twin assassins, both of whom served in the British Special Forces. They were good at creating crime scenes to blame innocent thugs. In addition to these names, Oasis also had a girl named Jane. She was beautiful and dangerous. Jane used to study Japanese Bushido, then she defeated her master and left with the sword. Jane carried a katana around the world to kill people. She had a hobby of collecting men's genitals after killing them. And the person who ran this headquarters is Mr. Ray. He was the one who sets the rules and manages the entire assassin company. Ray had a great reputation, so no one dared to cause trouble in the shop. However, the person Mike hated the most is Old Man Milton, who was in charge of assigning contracts. He was the middleman between the client and the assassin to make a profit from each job. Mike hated Milton's crooked and greedy personality, but he still had to follow his orders because Milton was the one who had the power to distribute tasks in this organization. This time, Milton gave Mike a new mission to kill an accountant. The client had paid double the money, showing that the target was very important. To carry out this mission, Mike disguised himself as a repairman and hid on the roof for 5 days. He brought a Ariane-10 air gun with a magnifying scope and waited for an opportunity to strike. When the accountant finally stepped out of the station, Mike immediately located the target. A car drove by at the perfect speed and angle, killing him on the spot, creating the perfect accident. The police would say it was just an accident caused by a sudden tire blowout. Mike easily completed the mission with a reward that doubled. Even though he was a cold-blooded killer, when Mike returned home, he often thought about his ex. That girl was Beth, the one he had loved deeply. Mike had hurt Beth, so she left him for another woman. That memory still weighed heavily on Mike's heart. Every night he missed the feeling he had with Beth, but thinking about her with another woman made Mike hate Beth. While he was sitting there thinking, Mike received a text message from Milton. He asked him to personally come and receive the double bonus that evening. According to company regulations, this was illegal, but Mike still did not doubt it. That night, he went to the deserted alley as instructed. Suddenly, a motorbike sped up. The assassin quickly turned around and ran away, but the end of the alley was blocked by an unfinished construction site. He was forced to turn back to face Mike at a disadvantage. Mike did not give the assassin a chance to escape. This assassin, despite being hit, still tried to fight back fiercely, but he did not know that Mike was the strongest man in England. Every time the assassin tried to stand up, Mike would kick him down with a single blow. Mike couldn't get anything out of the killer, so he decided to clean up the body. He disguised the scene as an accident caused by speeding and breaking his neck. After finishing, Mike called Milton to question him about the trap that had just happened. Milton just changed the subject, making an excuse that he would investigate, and quickly ended the call. Mike had no choice but to hold back his anger and return home. In the middle of the night, while he was sleeping soundly, the phone rang, waking Mike up. The bad news was that Beth, his ex-girlfriend whom he had always missed, had passed away. Mike couldn't believe it. He couldn't accept the truth. The next day, Mike quietly attended Beth's funeral. He just stood from afar and watched. When the funeral ended and everyone left, Mike went up to place a bouquet of flowers on the grave. This was the only woman who made his heart ache forever. At that moment, a girl approached Mike. It was Adams, who used to live with Beth. Through the conversation, he learned that Beth was murdered by two drug addicts who broke into her house. The police found the killers, but both died of drug overdose. Adams also told Mike something that shocked him even more. Beth was pregnant before she died, and the baby in her womb was his biological child. That news made Mike even more hurt and resentful of himself. The TV was also broadcasting the news about Beth's death. An environmental activist, Beth had recently protested against the construction of a nuclear power plant on the coast. Mike, watching the news with the intuition of a killer, smelled a conspiracy behind this case. He believed that Beth's death was not as simple as the police claimed. Because she and her unborn child had died, Mike was determined to investigate to the end. He used his old connections to get the case file from the police. Mike then went to the crime scene where Beth was murdered. He looked at the documents and carefully examined every trace at the scene. The file described that the two addicts climbed up to the third floor from the outside to break in and steal money. At that time, Beth was pregnant and came home and accidentally ran into them. After killing the two addicts, they climbed back down as if nothing had happened. Mike found this very unusual. He thought that no one could climb up and down so easily. Mike also discovered that in Beth's autopsy report there was the substance thiopental Nazi. This is a drug used to treat anxiety disorders, often prescribed by doctors for people who are afraid of flying, but he remembered very clearly that she had never had any problems flying. Without hesitation, Mike began to simulate the murder scene in his mind. The two assassins had not stolen anything, but had snuck into the room, restrained Beth, and injected her with thiopental Nazi. This drug, also known as the truth drug, was often used by intelligence and mercenaries. It was clear that they wanted to extract some information from Beth before they killed her. Then, to mislead the investigation, they deliberately faked the scene as a drug break-in. The two assassins smeared the room with the hair and bodily fluids of the two unfortunate addicts. And this kind of slanderous trick was very familiar to Mike, because this was the most familiar way of doing things for Mick and Mac. Mike was very angry. He immediately went to the training ground of the two assassins, Mick and Mac. When they saw Mike,
"Hey, Mikey."
Let me take a wild guess.
unable to deny it any longer, Mick and Mac admitted that they were the ones who dealt with Beth. They said that they were only following the contract and had no personal grudges.
You call her a die one more fucking time.
However, because the three of them were in the same assassin organization and Ray's boss's rule was to forbid killing colleagues, Mike stopped. Through Mick's words, Mike learned that Milton was the one who assigned the task of killing Beth. Last time, old man Milton almost got Mike killed. Now he sent someone to kill Beth, his pregnant ex-girlfriend. Mike angrily returned to the Oasis bar to confront her, but Milton had disappeared when he arrived. Boss Ray had already learned everything through Mike's phone call. He advised him to calm down, because assassins should not get involved in personal feelings. But when Mike said that Beth was pregnant with his child, Boss Ray didn't know what to say. Even though he had known Mike for a long time, he still could not break the assassin rule. If everyone acted out of personal vendettas, the organization would collapse immediately. Mike gritted his teeth to suppress his anger, but he still wanted to know Milton's whereabouts. He was even more upset when Boss Ray smashed his wine glass and warned Mike to stop. He said that if he continued to cause trouble, he would not be able to leave the bar intact. Mike knew clearly that under the bar was the powerful shotgun that Boss Ray had hidden. He didn't want to betray him, and Mike didn't want to break his own rice pot, because no one knew that Boss Ray was actually the one who had taught him since he was young. That reminded Mike of a painful memory from his youth. Back when he was 15 years old, Mike was skinny and weak. He was often bullied by thugs. The leader was Romeo. He robbed money and beat Mike mercilessly every day. Once, after escaping by climbing over a fence, Mike sat panting behind the wall. Suddenly, he saw a big man breaking down the door of a house next door. The man who acted decisively was clearly not the homeowner, but a dangerous person. Then when Romeo led his men to attack Mike, the house suddenly exploded. He was stunned to see the man leave the scene as if nothing had happened. From that moment, Mike was attracted to this cold and mysterious man. For the next 3 weeks, he secretly followed his movements without taking his eyes off him. The more he followed, the more Mike was convinced that this was a real professional killer. One day, Mike mustered up the courage to knock on his door to express his wishes. The man who opened the door was the middle-aged Boss Ray. Mike recalled everything he had witnessed, every explosion, every death. Boss Ray grabbed the skinny boy and dragged him into the house, thinking that the boy was crazy. But Mike's answer surprised Boss Ray. He wanted to learn Boss Ray's profession. Mike wanted to become a good killer like him. He wanted to learn how to kill from Boss Ray. And the first person Mike wanted to kill was Romeo. Normally, Boss Ray could have killed him himself and secretly disposed of the body. But he didn't do that because he saw that Mike had a special temperament. He was very suitable to be a killer. So Boss Ray decided to let Mike carry out his first job in his life. So under his guidance, Mike sneaked into Romeo's house, climbed onto the balcony, and planted a note. Mike hid himself in a pile of dirty clothes to hide. He patiently waited for the opportunity. When Romeo returned home, he found a cigarette right by the window. Having a craving for a cigarette, Romeo considered it a gift from heaven and lit it up on the spot. At that moment, he saw a banknote stuck to the TV antenna and ran out to get it. The moment Romeo stepped onto the railing, Mike pushed him off the balcony. It was his first revenge, but strangely enough, he didn't feel guilty at all. Mike even felt relieved, satisfied as if he had just escaped from the shackles. From then on, Mike officially became a student of the Boss Ray, who was now a veteran assassin. He was taught by his boss Ray how to disguise accidents, make medicine, and use all kinds of weapons. He also passed on martial arts to help Mike become a real killer. Although he was cold-blooded and cruel, he was always grateful to his teacher who taught him. But this time, Beth and her unborn child made Mike break all boundaries. He went to Adams to ask for more information related to Beth's murder. Adams already disliked him, and she was even more upset when she heard about the murderer. Adams thought Mike was paranoid and a loser, so Beth left him for her. No matter how Mike explained, Adams insisted that Mike was making things up. The two argued fiercely, neither willing to give in. Suddenly the door was At this moment, Cliff calmed down. In his last moments, he recognized Mike. Cliff smiled tiredly when he saw his best friend. He weakly said that he received orders from Milton, and the real target was Adams. After saying that, Cliff collapsed and died right in front of Mike and Adams. On this side, Adams was so scared that she couldn't speak. Mike had to shake her shoulder to wake her up. He knew for sure that there was some secret between Adams and Beth. Otherwise, no one would have sent assassins to kill them one by one. Adams finally told the truth that she had been trying to hide for so long. It turned out that Beth had investigated a scandal of a large oil corporation. She had collected confidential documents and stored them on her parents' hard drive. The people behind the case were looking for this document. Mike immediately asked Adams to come and get the document before they acted first. He had to go and meet someone who needed to settle the score. Milton. Mike went to the massage parlor where Milton often went. A big guy with tattoos was massaging him. Mike didn't say much. He fell unconscious, causing Milton to look up in shock. As soon as he saw Mike, he was so shocked that he didn't have time to explain before getting punched several times. Mike kept hitting. He vented all his anger because his girlfriend was unjustly killed. Not even the double bonus was in sight. Mike was at his wits' end. Milton was scared out of his wits. He kept blaming the client. Milton said he didn't know anything. He was just an intermediary who received the assignment. Seeing that, Mike angrily asked for the client's name, but Milton still insisted on keeping it a secret. He made an excuse that because of the principles of the profession, he absolutely would not reveal the person behind it. And hit the sole of his foot hard.
Okay, wait. What?
His name?
It was Ken.
Who does he work for?
I swear, I don't know.
Kent was the CFO of a corporation, the one behind all the tragedies. Even though he had gotten the information, Mike was still angry and wanted to confront Milton.
He will tell you.
Mike left the massage parlor, leaving Milton screaming in pain behind. But because of this action, Mike angered his master boss Ray. Cliff was dead. Mac and Mick were beaten by Mike. Things were getting out of hand. Milton was not at peace either. Now he decided not to forgive anymore. He issued a new mission that all the assassins must hunt down Mike. This time, there would be no reward, because this was the existence of the assassin company. A blood storm was about to strike, and Mike was the center of that storm. On the bus, Mike secretly met Adams again to hear the whole truth. Adams says Beth had always investigated a very powerful oil company because they were secretly involved with the Prime Minister, and the company used it to threaten the government. In return, we would be given the right to exploit oil off the coast of England. At the same time, Beth received confidential information from an accountant who had been missing for a week. Mike heard this and rolled his eyes helplessly because he had killed that person. Mike was the one who shot the glass into the car wheel, causing the accountant's death. Adams then gave Mike a hard drive containing the documents Beth collected before her death. She said Beth truly loved him, but he was too heartless to realize it. Now everything was too late, and the only thing Mike could do was revenge. He vowed to make the killer of Beth and her mother pay the highest price possible. At this time, Kent, the financial director, was busy with Beth's case. He did not know that Mike had quietly walked up behind him like a ghost. Kent was so scared that he had to reveal the name of the real person behind everything. Zim was the high-ranking executive who ordered the murder of the accountant and Beth. He hired a hitman to find her documents and kill everyone involved. But Kent also revealed something surprising. All the missions were carried out by a single hitman. That means Milton lied. He was the one who arranged everything from start to finish. Kent gave Mike a recording device containing all the calls between him and Milton. This was irrefutable evidence enough to bring down the Hitman company. Before he could leave, he screamed madly. Mac continued to shoot at Mike with extreme hatred, but when the gun ran out of bullets, Mike was unharmed. His flesh was still intact. With no other choice, with just one blow, he collapsed on the spot. As soon as Mike stepped out of the main door, he was immediately ambushed by Pete from behind. The poison expert used his hand to cover his nose and mouth with extremely strong poison. Mike struggled violently, and as soon as he got a clear look at Pete,
Come on, then.
Mike kicked him down the stairs, not even bothering to look back. After finishing off the person blocking his way, Mike rode his motorbike to Zim's house. He sneaked into the mansion, which was guarded by a female assassin with a sword. It was none other than Jane, who had studied martial arts in Japan. She was specially sent by Boss Ray to protect Zim in case of danger. Mike didn't say much and jumped straight into the house. He went straight to the two people. As soon as he saw Mike enter, Jane stood in front of Zim. She handed the katana to Zim and told him to run first. Jane would take care of the rest. Launching his signature aerial spinning kick. The strong kick sent Jane flying, forcing her to draw her katana to defend herself. The wound on Mike's body made him bleed, but his eyes were still full of determination. Mike grabbed a nearby lamp, turning it into a makeshift weapon to deal with it. However, just a few moves later, the lamp was cut in half by the katana. Jane thought she had won. She began to mock Mike. He angrily launched a series of strong blows. Mike finally used the katana to stab Jane to death. After taking down all the assassins, he finally met the mastermind behind everything. The oil company director was still confident in using money to bribe Mike. He believed that with enough money, everything could be resolved peacefully. But Mike was not the type of person who could use money to erase hatred. There were things that money could not solve. Meanwhile, Milton was hiding in the Oasis bar, owned by his boss Ray. He believed that the assassins had cleared the way for him, so he was not worried. But Mike suddenly returned to the bar, holding a katana in his hand. All the assassins he had sent had been kill, leaving no one behind. Boss Ray looked at his student as he walked in. Mike's eyes were sad, but also full of caution. Milton was scared and hid behind him. He could only cling to others now. Boss Ray was angry when he heard that Mike had killed a customer. He was about to scold him, but Mike immediately threw the tape recorder on the table to clarify everything. The recording of Milton and Kent discussing how to kill Beth was played on the machine. Boss Ray immediately understood everything after listening. His longtime trusted partner had turned against him. Because of this, many assassins died, and Mike was forced into a corner. Boss Ray was furious and immediately took action, punching Milton to the ground and stomping him to death under the bar counter. Even though he was a retired assassin, his actions still made people terrified. But then, suddenly, Boss Ray pulled out a double-barreled shotgun and pointed it at Mike. He was angry because he had destroyed the assassin company that Boss Ray had worked so hard to build. Just one shot could have ended all the troubles that had lasted for years. But Mike remained calm because he knew that Boss Ray could not kill him. Mike was not only a student, but he was almost a son that Boss Ray had raised since he was a child. He finally put down the gun, but their relationship was officially over. Mike turned around and left. Boss Ray told him to be careful not to get killed. He smiled and admitted that Mike was the best assassin that Boss Ray had ever trained. A professional assassin. No one knows where he is. Maybe Mike is hiding in the middle of this city, waiting for his next prey. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching.